Around this time of year, people everywhere find themselves playing out traditions. There's a lot of nostalgia surrounding the idea of staying up late, sleeping on a couch, waiting for a jolly old man to come down a chimney to bring you gifts. There's a level of unfiltered joy waking up Christmas morning and running out of your room just to see what Santa brought you. And as weird as it sounds, I was sucked back into my childhood today, waking up to the best early Christmas present I could ask for. Another Matrix movie. Because even though people everywhere kind of hated the second and third film in the series, I never did. I mean, sure, the third wasn't really the best, but it needed to be told in order to finish out that story. So I didn't know what would come out of the Matrix Resurrections, but you could bet that I was all in. Now, before I go on, there will be slight spoilers here because the trailers didn't really give anything away in terms of plot. And to kind of give you an idea of what the movie's even about, I will briefly explain what's been going on. So if you don't want to know all that, and if you want to go in blind, go ahead. Come back later. Otherwise, let's get into it. You've been warned. Thomas Anderson is a program writer for a respectable video game company where he has created a popular game trilogy called The Matrix. Only he feels as if an aspect of the game is indeed real, and he's in fact Neo, imprisoned in a simulated reality. His therapist continually gives Mr. Anderson blue pills to remain sane, but when a group of impossible people from his past life start showing up, not even a blue pill can keep the truth from him, and he must once again follow the White Rabbit. Impressively, this sequel was able to surprise me in every possible way. It's both a sequel and a reimagining in a way, all at the same time because of the metaform that it takes. We literally see clips of the Matrix trilogy in this movie, where characters are actually sitting there watching it, which is nuts. But they aren't actually movies, they're games. A similar idea was done in one of the Hellraiser films, where everybody knew about the Hellraiser series in a meta fashion, but they weren't movies either. They were also games. But where it didn't work so well with Hellraiser, it actually does with The Matrix, because the entire thing has always been about a simulated reality. And what's more simulated as a reality than a video game? The foundation here is fantastic, and in true Wachowski form, it is mind-boggling. How this film was able to both retain the old and present the new at the same time is divine. One of the reasons that you watch The Matrix, or at least one of the reasons that I watch the Matrix series, is for its specific flair in martial arts, and I knew the legendary man that choreographed the original trilogy was not going to be doing this one because he's just too old at this point and has not really done any of that for like almost a decade. The fight choreographer for this one is credited to a Joshua Groth on IMDb, and I'm not exactly familiar with his work that much. He seems to be much more of a stunt guy than anything. So what did I think of the fighting in this? It could be better. It's not bad per se, but something about it feels slow or weightier. I didn't so much feel the threat of the agents or the villains in general. In the original films, yes, all three, there was a brutality or grunginess to the violence that even though it was over-the-top martial arts at times, you were constantly at the edge of your seat. Stakes were raised, violence was crazy, things seemed impossible, upgrades were going on, and it wouldn't ever let up. This felt produced, at least to a degree. Again, I didn't feel as much of a threat here as I normally would. It's still good though. I don't want people thinking that I didn't like the movie, because I had a lot of fun with it. It feels so much like The Matrix. Keanu is great as Neo again, Carrie-Anne Moss likewise is fantastic as Trinity, and their chemistry together is insatiable, and honestly, it's the heart of everything in the movie. The evolution of what has happened with Zion and Morpheus and things like that they're just things that you have to see for yourself, because honestly, it really is great. So far, I've seen a bit of diverse take on this film. Some say it's the second best Matrix film out there, and I can't say for sure if I agree because it's been a little bit since I've actually revisited Revolutions and Reloaded, but strictly speaking from a more grounded perspective, they might be onto something. This feels the most like the first Matrix movie since the first Matrix movie. In a lot of ways, it's a straight-up remake, but in a lot of other ways, it's also its own thing with its own voice and story too. At the end of the day, this Matrix fan is just happy to be watching a Matrix film again. As somebody that has made his own Matrix fan film with his brothers, I feel as if they could have done anything and I would have been happy. But what they did do, I was impressed with and believe it makes sense with the original trilogy, which might be the most important thing. Taking a look at my technical unbiased score, The Matrix Resurrections does a lot right in terms of making the viewers at home get sucked back into the world of The Matrix. From that iconic musical score to the inclusion of Keanu Reeves as Neo, Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity, and a few others, some things don't fully match the original trilogy, but for newcomers, that may not matter as it was revamped for a newer audience to watch and enjoy, and I think it works for the most part. Though some of the fight choreography was not as good, I think, as the original trilogy. So this score is 86%. As for how I personally felt about the movie, or my bias score, I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, it's not as theologically impressive as the first film. I mean, after watching, I didn't question my own reality like the first movie made me do all those years ago. The fight choreography, like I said, is also not as impressive as it once was, but, it is still a solid movie that I had a lot of fun with, so my bias score is pretty similar to my unbiased score at 84%. Combining the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 85%. 85 out of 100 possible stars. Guys, have you seen The Matrix Resurrections yet? It's available right now to stream on HBO Max. I think it's only going to be available to watch for a month, so make sure that you don't miss out. And if you have seen it, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie.